Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Foster Files, a podcast about animal rescue and welfare. My name is Kelly, and every week I talk about issues surrounding animals in this country and to the people who are passionate about making their lives better. I have the most special of all the special guests with me this week because this week, after a year of having done this podcast, I finally get to have my husband Michael on the podcast. Hi, babe. How are things out there in the dining room?
They're great. Thanks for having me on. Looking forward to this conversation.
Yeah, sure. Me too. So, Michael and I have a bit of news to share. And if you follow the podcast on Instagram, you're probably already aware of this. But since the beginning, I've been talking a lot about what I call our behavioral foster, Max. And Michael and I decided that it was time that we welcome him into our family permanently. So, just this past week, we made it official. We adopted Max, and he is now part of the pack, part of the crew. Certainly, he always thought he was. And he knows no different, but it's official. So I want to kind of ask you why you thought it was time, because ultimately you're the one that kind of brought it up the most lately and really started to say things in the last few weeks like we should just adopt him. I think maybe we should just adopt him. And so just tell me a little bit about what brought you to that point.
I think it starts, well, I know it starts in the beginning. We got him as a foster, and then we got him adopted out, and then his true behavior, some of his characteristics came out with that adoption family, so we got him back. They returned him. It was a little much for them. And very quickly, we saw the true Max, which is 95% of the time, he's a great dog. Uh, Very loving, goofy, funny, but there's some 5% that needed some attention, additional training. So those first couple of weeks, months, um, being honest, is I didn't know how he was going to get adopted. There were times I was wondering, how can a potential adopter even meet him with some of the things we were seeing? But through those first couple of months, we had, you know, some good training sessions. We made some improvements, and we were turning a corner. And then just time kept passing. Next thing you know, it's a year later. We still have Max, not very much interest, and I still had concerns about an adopter. Like it would have to be a perfect fit, and I just came to the conclusion that I knew for Max to be comfortable and adopted, that if it was in our home, we could 100% do that for him. And just figured it was time. This is, we talk about having a purpose in life. And, we started this journey 2.5 years ago. And like, this is to me is one of those boxes that was checked, to, you know, fulfill our purpose.
It's so interesting because one of the things that I wanted to bring up today is the fact that probably about 6 months ago, maybe a little longer, you said to me flat out, you said, don't ask me to adopt him. I don't want to adopt him. And you were very clear about it. And, what you guys don't know about Michael, unless you're close friends of ours, and what is probably going to be unsurprising, is I'm the type A in the personality or in the relationship, and Michael is the type B. And so for him to kind of come out and set that clear boundary of don't ask me this is not something I'm comfortable with, and at that time he definitely wasn't. I really backed off. I mean, we were very intentional about getting him on the website, getting him posted on socials with not only my socials and talking about him here, but also investing in his training. I mean, we committed to a training package for any potential adopter. And so I don't know. It's just so interesting that like we didn't talk about it until really recently, where it really just kind of started to feel like that perfect home that we had been looking for Max, was ours. For me, it was also a scenario in which there are so many incredible dogs available in the shelter system and in the rescue system that don't have behavioral issues or don't have medical issues. And to me, it was like, if I'm an adopter, why would I intentionally choose this dog that I don't have a connection with, that I don't have a relationship with, versus another one that's going to be an incredible companion that doesn't have some of these concerns. And we did have people try to meet him, and we did have adopters try to meet him, and we had adopters that would put in applications, and then I would have a really frank conversation with them about his behavior, and they would pretty understandably say, yeah, I'm not ready to take that on. I think it's really difficult to say that you're going to take on a behavior case unless you already love that dog. And so I get it. I get why people didn't do that. But what we really came to figure out was that we're the ones that love the dog, and we're the ones that have already been taking on this behavior case and managing this behavior. So it kind of felt like a natural fit. Was there anything else in the decision making process that was really important for you?
I think you're very good at looking at a situation, being practical, and in my mind, it turns into like checking boxes. So, we had a conversation in the past. Max takes up resources from the rescue. Is that fair, to the rescue since we've had him so long? I know one of the big concerns, well, the reason the podcast came to fruition and why we do what we do is fostering. And one of the concerns early on with Max is, could we even foster with Max? But we had a couple of situations where we could test that out. And so far, we found that younger dogs do well with Max. So I think that was another, box that we checked that made more sense. So we could keep doing what we do the work, especially you. But moving forward, I mean, just checked all the boxes. It made sense. It's early on, I had doubts. I feel like there was different stages of emotions that I went through thinking about adopting Max. And like you said, 6 months ago, I didn't even want to consider it, and I just had to process it. And it came to that conclusion that, he's ours.
I think it's also to point out too that Michael and I had a very serious conversation about, was behavioral euthanasia an option for Max? I just want to be like really transparent about how much thought and how much conversation went into this decision, because Max is not easy. Like, I still have doubts. He needs managed. I mean, when it's just the two of us, it's fine. Everything's fine.
Right.
And like, to your point, him and Cheese are attached at the hip. They love each other. And then he's been great with the fosters that we've had in the house, since we started fostering again after having brought him back. But like, there was a moment where I said, hey, we need to have a serious conversation about the fact that if he doesn't get adopted, we may need to talk to the rescue about, you know, should he potentially be put down, because he does take resources from the rescue, and he is, taking us as a resource for the rescue potentially. And it just was part of the conversation. And that was what was interesting to me, because I'm the one that brought it up. Michael did not bring that up. Michael was actually the one that looked me dead in the face and said, I could not see that happen. I can't bear the thought of that happening to him. And given that conversation that we had, 6 months ago, where he said, I absolutely won't adopt him, that's kind of when I think our sort of the way we saw him started to shift. At least for me, it started to shift, where it was less about, okay, we're just holding this dog until he gets a home. And it was more about, okay, we're going to have to figure out this commitment, like, for real. Is this our commitment? Is this our dog? Or is there potentially a scenario in which there's no other home for him? And ultimately, I don't want people thinking that we adopted him out of like pity. I mean, I think that that's potentially a really easy conclusion to come to. And we didn't adopt him out of pity. We love him. We have loved him since day one, and we care about him. And to be honest, I don't trust anybody else but us to manage him, to make sure that all the people and he are as safe as possible. So it's interesting how much thought has gone into this and how much effort has gone into this and will continue to go into our lives with Max. But he really does bring a lot to the table. Michael and I joked about it. We had two big dogs that we had together before, Wilson and Denver. And he is a little bit of a weird mashup of the two of them. Because
Yep.
what we used to say about Wilson, he was what?
Wilson was the 95-5 dog.
Yep.
95% of the time, he was the best dog anyone could ask for, but there was 5% there where he was
Or
just a
he
big
was a
old
real
jag
dick.
off. Yeah,
Yeah. And it was a different kind of attitude. In that case, the attitude
right,
was towards us and not
right.
towards strange people. And then Denver was the sweetest dog in the entire world. I've never met a dog with a better disposition than Denver had. But he had big black dog privilege where I never had to worry about anybody coming into this house that wasn't supposed to be here because Denver was a lunatic at the fence line, and now Max gets to have our big black dog privilege and is our security system at our fence line and when we're on walks. And yeah, it's just funny because to me he is obviously he's his own guy, but
Oh,
he's
for
a kind of
sure.
a mashup of those two dogs that we lost, you know?
Yeah, I get choked up sometimes. He does certain things that reminds me of Denver, and then I
Oh
get
yeah.
mad and angry because he does things that remind me of Wilson. So
I know lately, actually, you've been accidentally calling him Denver
yeah,
lately.
yeah,
Yeah,
it's
you've
how
been slipping up
similar
and
some
calling
of
him
the
Denver.
traits and behavior have been. So
I know. I know. So I'm really excited we have Max. I know you're really excited we have Max.
yeah,
And it's a whole other element of our life, like this commitment to him and figuring out, are we going to, go a different training route? And now we have the extra expense of boarding, in a way
right,
that we never really did before. But I'm really excited that he's finally ours and we don't have to worry. We don't have to worry about anybody else taking great care of him because we get to do that now forever.
right. Yeah, it's yeah, I was happy, when we decided, and just feels good. So
It does. It does. It feels right.
yeah,
Yeah. So I wanted to ask you before we go to the foster spotlight, I wanted to ask you, is there anything about having fostered dogs in the last 2.5 years that maybe has been surprising to you? Because I want to give everybody just like kind of a slight background. My husband did not grow up with dogs at all. Dogs are not in his family's kind of DNA. That's not their thing. And so when we met and I had four dogs, he had to accept dogs pretty quickly. But that's even still a different ask than asking him to bring all these new dogs into his life. I'm fortunate in the sense that, Michael is an incredible, loving, supportive person, but fostering is a lot. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of commitment. So has there been anything about it that's maybe been, surprising to you or that you want to like pass on to people that are considering potentially fostering or supporting their partner who wants to foster?
yeah. So one of the coolest, fascinating things is every foster's different. Their personalities, their mannerisms, their behavior. Just fun to see when they get here how they are, and then seeing just the transition in a 24-hour period or a 3-week period or even a year with Max. Just the evolution of what taking a dog from a stressful situation and bringing them into a home that has stability, shelter, love. It's pretty rewarding. It's an awesome experience. So if you're ever considering it, um, I highly recommend just jumping in and trying it out. It's it's pretty cool.
That's awesome. I love hearing you say that. And I promise I'm not in the same room with him with like a knife in his side, forcing him to say that. He is under his own volition right now.
Right.
So In honor of Max, I have a very special foster spotlight that I want to share today. So, for everyone that is following along on YouTube, you're going to see me share my screen. And you're going to see me share another long-term foster that is with our organization, Cross Your Paws. So this guy's name is Prince. Prince has been with his foster, I think, babe, longer than Max. I want to say
Oh,
they're
wow.
working on a year and a half. Yeah, I don't quote me on that, but I think it's a year and a half. He's approximately 4 years old, and he is really just, he's a 95.5 dog too. It's so funny because I didn't write the description for him, but
Yeah, I
it
just
literally
noticed that.
says,
Yeah.
yeah, it literally says, he's sweet as can be 95% of the time. A total cuddle bug whose favorite place in the world is on the couch with his head resting in his foster mom's lap. But my understanding is that Prince can be resource guard. So he can resource guard. So he is dog friendly, and he is, a really great dog. But he's stubborn, and he will resource guard. So it's so important that we as a rescue are very upfront about the behavioral concerns that a dog may have, but that we always make sure that people understand that that doesn't mean that they're not an incredible, sweet, wonderful dog. And Prince is a beautiful dog. He's a tan color, a little bit of a darker tan color, and he's got some white around his nose. His facial features remind me a little bit of our girl Cheese, even though I think he's a
Yeah.
little bit bigger than Cheese. So, and Prince, I believe, because he's a long-term foster, I do believe that his his adoption fee was lowered from 350. It does still show 350 on the website, but if you inquire about Prince, I will get you that. I think it's $100 off, so I think it might be 250. He is already neutered. He is a large dog, and that doesn't necessarily mean you need a large space, but you should probably be comfortable with him having a little bit of a yard or being able to walk him. But it does look like a lot of the pictures of him, he's straight up laying down and snuggling. So I think Prince would be a really great addition to any family, just like Max is. So if you are somebody who is looking for a really great dog, who's maybe looking to give a dog who might not otherwise have an easy situation, a really great home, you should probably take a look at Prince. And as always, I will share his adoption link in the show notes. So, babe, do you have any final thoughts to leave us with today?
No, this has been a fun experience, not only being on the podcast, but traveling this journey of life with you and the pups and everything we put into fostering. So thank you for having me.
Thank you for being you. And for everybody listening, don't forget to follow the show, the Foster Files podcast on Instagram. And if I could ask you to please rate and review and subscribe to the show. The more reviews that I get on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, the more times that the show is going to be shared with other people so that they can discover it. But remember, thank you for listening today, and be kind to yourselves and be kind to animals. Have a great day.